Today, we're going to break down some of the most common AI terms that you're going to hear. Frontier models, LLMs, grounding, agents, autonomy, all the way through to human in the loop. Now, instead of throwing that jargon at you, I'm going to walk you through it the same way I'd explain it to someone sat beside me at my desk. It will be clear, practical, and with real examples that you can actually picture. Now, once you understand these terms, the whole AI landscape suddenly makes a lot more sense, and it's something you can't miss out on in 2026 if you want to take full advantage of AI in your workplace. Now, to kick things off, we're going to have a look at the foundation, and specifically, we're going to talk about frontier models. Now, frontier models are basically the Formula One car of AI. They're the absolute cutting edge, the fastest, most capable systems that exist today. These are the models that are built by the biggest players, the ones that are pushing the boundaries of what machines can currently do. They take enormous amounts of compute to train, and they're the benchmark that everyone else compares against. Now, if everyone says this is a frontier model, they're saying this is advanced as it gets right now. And Microsoft are specifically calling out their frontier features, not necessarily frontier models, but technology that allows you to push those boundaries when you're building out using AI in the workplace. Now, second to all this is an LLM, a large language model. Now, think of an LLM as a digital brain. It predicts the language. You give it text and it predicts the most likely next word and the next and the next. But because it's trained on so much data, those predictions feel intelligent. Now, it's not thinking like a human, but it's incredibly good at understanding and generating language. Now, as an example, LLMs are predicting, if I was to say, today is a lovely day, I would like to go to the... Who said park? Who said beach? Now, I'm thinking like a language model. The most likely word to come up next. If someone said pub, let me know in the comments. But if you're interested in this concept, I'll share with you a very interesting keynote that I attended in Scotland just over 12 months ago. Make sure you check out the description. Next, we're going to talk about multimodal. Now, some models don't just work with text. They can see images, they can listen to audio, they can analyze video and respond to speech. That's what multimodal means. Multiple sensors, one model. Now, if an LLM is a brain, a multimodal model is a brain with eyes and ears. And if you saw my video that I did involving Gemini, I played a game of Fortnite with Gemini watching my screen and talking along and giving me advice about my gameplay. Now, multimodal capabilities in the workplace might involve something like an invoice, an image of a receipt, and using a language model, you can extract key information like the date of the transaction, the amount of the transaction. You can do this purely by using a prompt. Similarly, with the multimodal capabilities, you might have a training or education agent that can help you with a new application that you've never used before. It can watch your screen, it can guide you, and before you know it, you'll become an expert in that piece of software, all thanks to a multimodal large language model. Now, next up is orchestration. You can tell I wasn't a musical orchestrator, but I did play the bassoon as a child. And before we move on, this is one foundational concept that most people never hear about, but it's absolutely essential. Orchestration. So if the model is the brain, orchestration is that conductor. It decides which tool to call, when to call it, what order to run these things in, how to combine the results, and how to hand everything back to you. And this is often one of the biggest misconceptions, because the large language model is the brain, the orchestrator is what brings all that information and all those tools together. You never see orchestration, but you feel it every time an AI system works smoothly. Now, in a real world example, imagine you ask AI to find the cheapest flight to Barcelona next month and put the results in a table. Behind the scenes, orchestration might ask the language model to understand the request, trigger a flight search tool, compare the results that come back and format them into a table, and then return everything neatly to you. Without orchestration, the whole thing falls apart. It's the glue that turns a clever model into a useful system. And ultimately, that is what is happening with Copilot. It is not purely a language model, it is orchestrating all these capabilities together to give you that user interface. And you might sometimes hear it as being the UI for AI. That's the user interface for AI. So now we're going to move on to the interaction layer, how you actually talk to AI. And that's done with something that everyone is probably familiar with, prompts. Now, a prompt is simply the instruction you give AI. It's the question, the task, the request, the starting point. If you've ever typed, write me an email, or explain this like I'm 5, that is a prompt. Now, in order to get the best from your prompt, you need to provide some form of context. If you want it to think like a project manager, or talk to you like you're 5, or explain something in layman's, then tell it. Because otherwise you will get a very generic answer. By providing some guidance about the output, you want it as a table, you want it in bullet marks, again, tell it, because that will help you formulate the outcome from the large language model. But if you don't get it right the first time round, you can ask a further prompt and further formulate the required output that you're expecting from that session or conversation that you have with the large language model. If you get it completely wrong, don't be scared to reset that prompt, start again, a brand new conversation. Next, we're going to talk about declarative. This is a style of prompting where you tell the AI what you want, not how to do it. For example, you might say, summarize this document into 2 paragraphs, whereas a non-declarative example would be to read the first paragraph, then extract the key points, then. Now, AI works best when you describe the destination, not the route. So next time you write a prompt, bear that in mind. Now we're moving on to the accuracy layer, how AI stays grounded in reality, starting with grounding. One of the biggest challenges with AI is something called hallucination, when it makes things up, and grounding is how we prevent that. So you give AI a fact sheet, a database, a document, a set of trusted sources, and you tell it only answer using this information. It's like giving a student the textbook they're allowed to use during an exam. Grounding turns that creativity into accuracy or more relevant information. And if you think about how you might use Copilot at work, you might ask a prompt, it might be grounded on the whole of your work information or the whole of the internet. If you want it to be specifically knowledgeable about a document or specific emails, make sure you reference them in your prompt. Grounding gives you the opportunity to turn your language model, or indeed your agent, which we'll cover later, into a subject matter expert. Make sure that you supply it with the information based on your emails, based on your files, based on specific websites in order to get that knowledge back from your prompt. Now we move on to the action layer, how AI gets things done. And if you think about a tradesman or a tradesperson, they might have a bag of tools. And some AI systems can call external tools, whether that be a calculator or a web search or a database or a translation engine. Think of tools as apps that AI can use to complete the tasks it can't do on its own. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll have seen that I've built an agent that can connect to Jira and it can create tasks and bugs in Jira. I've got one that can create tasks in Planner, another that can create draft emails, another that can create documents from templates. Now, out of the box, agents, language models, they can't do these things without tools. So you provide those tools, you give the agent that capability, and then you go from something that can simply summarize information to something that can actually perform tasks on your behalf. Which leads me nicely onto automation. Now, automation is the older cousin of AI tools. It's rigid, it's rule-based, and it's predictable. It's based on if this happens, do that. It's perfect for repetitive tasks, but it is not flexible. AI tools sit on top of this world. They're more adaptive, but they still rely on the same idea. They connect the model to something that can take action. And again, you'll often see me build out automations, flows that combine multiple different tools in order to perform a workflow or an automation, and then I use AI to call that automation and potentially pass in parameters into that workflow in order to complete my objective. Now we're going to move on to the collaboration layer, how humans and AI work together. And this is where Microsoft have the tool known as Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, a Copilot is an AI tool that works with you, not instead of you, not above you, but actually with you. It's a companion. It's the digital equivalent of having someone beside you who can draft and analyze and plan and suggest whilst you stay in control. And that's the key to all of this, is remembering that you must stay in control. Now, I could easily highlight a recent example of AI being used to draft a report by a certain police force, and the report that was generated included some information from the whole of the World Wide Web. The agent hallucinated, and as a result of the users not validating that information, there was a bit of a mistake made. So do remember that AI is generating information. In order to get the best from your prompts, you need to provide the knowledge and the sources, and to also validate that output once it's been generated. Moving on, and related to this concept, human in the loop. This is probably one of the most important concepts in the video. Responsible AI, we need to have people involved. Human in the loop means that AI can do the heavy lifting, but a human must still check the output. Now, if you imagine a student writing an essay, they do the work, but the teacher reviews it before it's submitted. That is human in the loop. It's a safety net, it's the quality control, and it's the reassurance that even as AI becomes more capable, humans remain the final decision makers. Now, bear that in mind next time you use AI. Use it responsibly. Make sure you look at those references and, if possible, ground it in specific information that you're looking to reference. Now, the future layer where AI is heading is all around agents. Now, agents are AI that can plan and execute multi-step tasks, not just answering a question, but deciding what steps are needed and then carrying them out. For example, finding the cheapest flight, comparing hotels and putting the results in a spreadsheet. An agent can break that into steps and work through them. I build agents on my YouTube channel showing some of those capabilities. So rather than a prompt, I'm bringing together that knowledge and tools in order to formulate an agent. We talk about the concept of retrieval task and what I'm about to talk about next, which is autonomous, in order to build out agents. Your agent can retrieve from knowledge that you've grounded in it. It can perform tasks based on the tools that you've given it. And rather than having that traditional conversational experience as a chatbot or an agent, you can have an autonomous agent or an autonomous system. So moving on to autonomy, this is where an AI can operate independently towards a goal. You give it an objective and it figures out the rest. In the Power Platform, that's done using triggers. For instance, an email comes into a mailbox. That email content is sent to the agent. The agent reasons over that information, and the agent can perform a knowledge lookup and some task-based activity based on the tools that it's got. Generating a draft email, for instance, in response to a customer complaint by looking up that customer's record on the CRM system and looking at their latest order that they've placed and maybe the returns policy in the form of a document that the agent has access to. And that's why human in the loop matters so much, because autonomy without oversight isn't the future that anyone wants. So that's the landscape. From frontier models at the top to LLMs and multimodal systems to orchestration, grounding, tools, agents, and autonomy all the way back to the most important, the human in the loop. So once you understand these terms, AI stops feeling mysterious. You can start seeing the structure, you can see the progression, and you can also see exactly where you're going to fit in. Now, because no matter how advanced these systems become, the most important part of the loop is still the human. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Cheers.